Let me start Foreign Minister IWAYA's regular press conference. Minister, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you. At the very outset, there is one report I would like to make you. Yesterday, I had a meeting with First Deputy Prime Minister and Economic Minister Sviridenko of Ukraine, who is now visiting Japan. This is the second time for me to meet with the Deputy Prime Minister since my visit to Ukraine in November. First, Deputy Prime Minister Sviridenko attended yesterday Japan-Ukraine Economic Joint Meeting with attendance of relevant agencies and businesses. Taking these as opportunities, we hope Japanese companies' participation in recovery and reconstruction of Ukraine will further expand and progress. It was very useful that my Ukraine visit was so quickly followed up in this way. Public-private combined will advance efforts toward realizing just and lasting peace in Ukraine and recovery and reconstruction in Ukraine. That's it from me. Thank you.
If you have a question, please raise your hand. When invited, proceed to the microphone, state your name and affiliation, ask a question. Kyodo Tsushi Sakaguchi-san, please. Kyodo Sakaguchi is my name. North Korean situation, I have a question. Now, the U.S. Defense Department press secretary, concerning the Ukraine's attack in Western Russia, he acknowledged that for the first time as the United States, there has been mortality in the North Korean soldiers fighting in the Western Russia. As the government of Japan, what is your understanding about North Korean mortality? Also, the EU and the United States added to the target of sanctions, North Korean defense minister and deputy chief of the general staff, including the asset freeze. That's their announcement. What is Japan's plan?
Yes, as you had mentioned, Press Secretary of US DOD, I see that there has been signs that casualties occurred on the DPRK in combat. Troops. And Japan recognizes that DPRK troops are taking part in combat against Ukraine. In cooperation with the United States and ROK, efforts are made to collect and analyze related information. As for the contents about the casualties and so forth, I would like to refrain from sharing with you the details. At any rate, looking at the recent development of DPRK sending troops to Russia, as well as Russia's involved in providing arms and the munition procurement and the use from DPRK for ballistic missiles and so forth. We strongly condemn this for the military cooperation between the Russia and DPRK, and it's very concerning because it could worsen the situation in Ukraine. And just yesterday, foreign ministers issued a joint statement condemning the cooperation between Russia and Australia, New Zealand, and ROK have also been included in that statement condemning cooperation between Russia and DPRK. As for the sanction in harmony with the United States, we are considering the additional sanctions to be imposed on the military cooperation between Russia and DPRK. It's being coordinated, so soon formal announcement will be made. So we will continue to collect the information relevant and analyze them and strongly seek the full implementation of UN Security Council relation and hope that as soon as possible, just and lasting peace will be realized in Ukraine and we will remain in close cooperation with the international community.
Next question, Gigi Tsushin Kawakami-san, please. Gigi Kawakami. The U.S. President-elect Trump, on the 16th, he had a press conference. He had showed some motivated to have a meeting with Prime Minister Ishiba. When he visited South Korea, Mr. Trump said that because of the Logan Act, before taking office, holding such meetings is limited. But what's your take on that, Mr. Trump's comment? What's your plan going forward as well?
Well, about the remarks that you mentioned, through the press reportings and so forth, we understand that and know that. We welcome very much that positive remarks have been made by incoming President Trump. We welcome that because it's very positive, emphasizing Japan. Having said that, Prime Minister Ishiba and his meeting with the incoming President Trump, of course, communication has continued with the members of incoming President Trump's team on this. But as far as the content is concerned, because we have to think about our partner, we cannot share with you the detail. However, in a mutually convenient time, meeting can take place so that good time can be spent on the exchanging of the views so that personal relationship and trusting relationship can be built. I hope that will be the case.
Next question, Nikkei. Baba-san. Baba. About Japan's investment to the next Trump administration, Mr. Masayoshi Son had a meeting with Mr. Trump, announced 15 trillion yen worth of investment concerning relations to Japanese companies. He said he would thwart U.S. steel, but the government of Japan thinks that such investment from Japan to the United States is positive for both countries. How are you going to appeal the significance of expanding Japan's investment to the United States?
About Mr. Son of SoftBank, he met with incoming President Trump and talked about and suggested a big-scale investment plan for Japan-U.S. Economic relationship to expand. From that perspective, I think it's a very good development. That's my feeling. Having said that, as for the case of acquisition of U.S. steel, you know very well that procedures are ongoing. And within this year, CFIUS review decision will be delivered. That's my understanding. It has to do with individual management issue of an individual company. So government will refrain from making a comment on it at this time. But at any rate, the further expansion of mutual investment between Japan and United States, further strengthening economic relationship, and realizing sustainable and inclusive economic growth in Indo-Pacific region and cooperation in the economic security area are all these which are held essential for Japan and the United States mutually. So we are always looking for deepening and development of Japan-U.S. economic relationship, and cooperation will continue. And we will keep a close communication with the incoming administration.
Next question, please, NHK. Yonezu, NHK. About the extraordinary diet session. The supplementary budget plan is likely to pass today, and as a result of the ruling party and opposition parties, the bill banning policy-related activities expenses is likely to pass. So the revision is likely to materialize. Then in this Diet session, as the minority ruling party, what is your assessment on the Diet session so far and discussion results, please?
About the general management of Diet session as a minority ruling party, I would refrain from making comment as a foreign minister. But on personal basis, we are the minority ruling party. And of course, views coming from opposition party is listened to well. Otherwise, budget nor bills will not be enacted, or it will be difficult. So in that sense, we will be humble and in detail about the explanation from the ruling party side. And as for the opposition party, I hope they will show a certain taking of responsibility for the national situation of Japan. So far, more than anything else, we are able to have a very good deliberative session in good detail. I think this is being realized at the Diet. That is the impression I have as an individual, personal politician. So in that sense, going ahead, government, ruling party will remain humble and attentive in responding to opposition parties and call on them to work together and hear their views. And persuasive, sympathetic way of managing the Diet will be realized.
Next question, please, IWJ. IWJ, about Ukraine. Minister had a press conference on December 3rd about the corruption in Ukraine. The embezzlement can be up to 50%. That was the statement of former Labour Minister of Poland. You said you were not aware of this. And as for your awareness of the corruption situation in Ukrainian support, you didn't mention. IWJ, about the Ukraine Anti-Corruption Task Force, we directly talked to them, and including the MOFA here in Japan, they mentioned that there is the consensus on this understanding about the corruption situation in Ukraine. And those are the issues that there is a shared understanding in Japan, but you are not even pursuing how it's used and the taxpayers' money for totaling 1.8 trillion yen. I think it's unpardonable that if you cannot explain how it's used. What's your comment?
Yes, first of all, with regard to the exchanges that your company has had with the Ministry of Justice, I am not in the position as a foreign minister to respond. But I don't think what has been asserted is true. It is true that in the past, in Ukraine, there was a rampant corruption. In the past, as we understand. But as far as the Japanese government is concerned, the support we had provided and will provide to Ukraine is important to be implemented appropriately. So with the Ukraine government and the related institution, we will keep in close cooperation, and we have been appropriately addressing this issue. So going forward, these efforts will continue solidly. Also, I told you what had happened in the past, but currently, Ukraine is taking anti-corruption measures and also committed to work toward the implementation of reform in various areas. In judicial system and corporate governance, so Japanese government is willing to support these efforts.
In relation, as I listen to Justice Ministry and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there should be some kind of a disconnect concerning the recognition. So Justice Ministry, are they in the wrong? So you think you are right?
Well, with the Ministry of Justice, in this particular point, we don't have any intention to coordinate our views, but as I have been saying, as far as we are concerned, Ukraine support is to be provided appropriately. And needless to say, this is most important, more than anything else. Having that in our mind, we will advance our efforts on this.
Next question, Asahi Shimbun, Satomi-san, please. Satomi, Asahi newspaper. About the U.S. president-elect, about going back to Trump administration. The businessman, Mr. Grass, according to a press release, he will be appointed as the ambassador. This question was raised in the Chief Cabinet Secretary. So in relation to China, I would like to raise a question. When he served as an ambassador to Portugal concerning the Huawei 5G introduction, he is considered as a kind of a hardliner against China. Japan and China are trying to improve the relations. What will be the impact on the bilateral relation if Mr. Grass is appointed as ambassador?
Local time 16th, incoming President Trump had made an announcement over SNS that Mr. George Glass, former ambassador to Portugal, will become next ambassador in Japan. Of course, this position is very important because it is a bridge between Japan and the United States. That is ambassador's job. Therefore, the official designation and the Senate confirmation will take place, as we understand. I hope he will come to early in Japan and make efforts toward Japan-U.S. relations. You have mentioned about Mr. George Glass remarks made in the past. I don't know every one of them well, but we are talking about incoming ambassador to Japan from the United States, and we will have a close cooperation with that person so that further Japan-U.S. alliance can be reinforced and it can be raised to higher heights and grounds. We will keep in close cooperation.
Next question, Pan Orient News, Azuhari-san.
Thank you. Orient News. I would like to ask about the Syrian situation. What is Japan's position on the ongoing expansion of Israel into Syrian territories? To date, Japan and the G7 have refrained from criticizing or condemning Israel for bombing Syrian military sites without provocation, which surely encourage more Israeli attacks and more Israeli expanding into Syrian territories, and this contributes to the destabilization of the region. Thank you.
We know about the tendency of the Israeli government and its development. Of course, we are concerned about it because thus far we have been consistent in saying that our position is not, we are not to recognize Israeli annexation of Golan Heights. So measures taken this time is very much worrisome because it could elevate further the regional tension. So we would monitor closely the developments with a grave concern. Also, Israeli settlement activities are the violation of international law. Therefore, vis-à-vis Israeli government, we had repeatedly called on them to fully freeze their settlement activities. And we will reiterate and call on strongly on this to Israel. As for the developments in Syria, we are watching them with grave interest. How it will go, I cannot prejudge what could happen. Not only Japan, but the international community as a whole are of the view that all the violence in Syria inside should be suspended immediately, and good environment will be brought to Syrian people so that good nation building will take place. That is the expectations we have. So, with regard to the situation in Syria, it could give a big impact. So, with a grave interest, we are looking at the movements made by Israel. On the 12th, G7 leaders' statement had been issued, which said that we call on all parties to preserve Syria's territorial integrity and national unity and respect its independence and sovereignty, and we iterated our support for the disengagement observer force monitoring of the UN on the Golan Heights between Israel and Syria. In the past, I have been to see the Golan Heights. Therefore, I hope that peace in Golan Heights, I am the view, should be maintained. So, continuously, we call upon all parties, not only Israel, but other all parties, to suspend immediately the violence and observe the international law, inclusive of the international human rights law, so that overall Middle East tension can be eased. And we call on the activities to be taken toward that goal. And for that matter, Japan will undertake its diplomatic efforts.
This concludes the press conference.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.